Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. What's up, everybody? Joe Pavlansky and Eddie Guevara are back with you with House of the Unusual podcast. Tonight we have back with us the master of magic merchandise, Dave Haversat, one of our fan favorites. Dave, what's going on?
Oh, I'm doing great, Joe. Doing good.
Good.
Doing well.
Glad to have you back with us once again. Eddie, what's new on your end up at House of the Unusual?
Well, everything's progressing. We're finishing up the Ghost Ship times to launch soon. I did get two updates, one of you of an unboxing and one of Todd, which Todd's came out really phenomenal.
Todd did an unboxing?
Yeah, he did one. For being his first ever, he actually did pretty good.
Awesome.
So I'm going to upload those into tonight, so they should be available tomorrow on houseoftheunusual.com or the YouTube channel, that is.
Awesome. Well, before we get started on our little rant today, I have a little rant of my own that I was thinking of last night that I wanted to put out, and it kind of dovetails off of what we talked about. I think it was last podcast or the podcast before, and that is the importance of physical media. Because I was thinking last night, I was kind of bored, and I was looking through my Amazon Prime to watch some. I wanted to watch some old TV shows, so I was somewhere on episode 6 or 7 of The Addams Family, and I wanted to go back and start watching a few of those. So I logged on, and I'm looking for Addams Family. Here they had Amazon Prime had taken it off the streaming, and it's no longer on any other platform that I have, out of Netflix, Hulu, Disney, all of them. So I said, you know what? I said, I'd like to watch, the Monsters start that up again. And here they took that off of Amazon Prime as well. And then that brought me back to thinking back in October, a few weeks before Halloween, when it was announced that the Charlie Brown Great Pumpkin would not be seen on TV for the first time in decades because it was, again, on a streaming channel. Now, thankfully, my wife had the foresight years ago to purchase the DVD collection of all the Peanuts cartoons, so the Great Pumpkin was on there, and we had a chance to watch it. But I was thinking last night, I said, you know what? I said I have to find the Addams Family set and the Munster set and all these other old classics that I have that I like to watch, because it's just, you can't rely on these streaming services that much, or sometimes not at all, because they'll put shows on there and then you could be in the middle of them and then they're gone, and then you look at maybe 20 years from now, where will those shows be? Will you be able to watch them? These shows from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So, I was just kind of contemplating last night on the importance of, having physical media, having the physical books in your hands, the DVDs, the magazines, the comic books, and kind of straying away from this, these streaming stuff and these Kindle books and these digital editions and all that stuff. So, what are your guys' take? Dave, what's your take on having physical media over, digital media?
Well, because I don't really do anything as far as, video, DVD, that type of thing. But, I'm a book guy, and I was always kind of against when there was a big push for, the Kindle and for all these ebooks and downloadable, because I feel having a tangible thing in your hand that you could, take off a shelf and you can look at your leisure and not stare at a screen. You could be laying in bed. You could be sitting in your car. And I know people say they could do that on their iPad, but it's not like having the actual object,
Yeah, there's especially with books, there's just something magical about having that physical copy in your hand. And, most of these digital ebooks, they've gone by the wayside now. A lot of places are no longer selling or updating them. So, people that had those ebooks when they came out, now they're kind of, stuck. So they're going
Right.
back to physical media.
Yeah. And the same is like, because I do a lot of research, with doing the books or articles that I write. And even today, when I'm looking through some stuff, I'm opening up a file cabinet. I'm looking at letters that people wrote in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. And then it dawns upon me, the new generation. I mean, nobody writes letters, but back in the day, that was the way you communicated. You'd say, "Hey, did you get this in or this?" Or "I found another one of these and it's rare." All these, what we use right now, we think it's great as far as emails and so forth. But let's say in 30, 40 years, all that data that we have on our email servers, it's going to be all gone, and no one's going to no one like myself who's doing research 40, 50 years from now is going to have access to your emails, to gather this information. So having like the old correspondence, it's like having an old catalog in your hand. We covet that, looking through it and seeing the line drawings and the pictures. Well, you could imagine, some of the stuff that's on the internet now, it's all going to disappear and be gone, and we won't be able to talk about it, discuss it. Just be, no one does it anymore. No one does the hard copy stuff as much. It's all digital.
Right. Now, and I do a lot of research as well, and I do see the importance of, the internet and all that, but I 90% of my research, if not more, comes from, physical books, physical letters, physical magazines, newspapers, and all that. I find myself going to my library more often than actually going online. And I recently doing an article for an upcoming magazine in January, and I while I purchased I don't want to say too much about it until everything, until it comes out in January. But when initially I couldn't find the movie I was looking for. It's an old movie from the 70s, and I couldn't find it online. Then I found a kind of a bad print of it. I couldn't find much information on an article, so I purchased a DVD that had audio commentary on it, and just tons of information on this movie, stuff that I couldn't find online. Whereas if I was not a physical media person, I would kind of be bogged down to what I could only find online, which wasn't much information, and none of that information I could really confirm as being true. It was kind of almost like from blogs and everything, whereas this DVD is from a reputable company, and it had the actual actors and crew members and script writers and all that giving the audio commentary, so you're getting the firsthand information from that. And that was stuff that I could not find online. So everyone out there, don't get me wrong, I do see there is some importance to the internet and to finding information, but there's just nothing that beats physical media. And Eddie, I know that you have a ton of letters and reference books and all that in your collection that you use as well. What do you find that's better? Do you like one over the other, or are you maybe indifferent?
No, I like everything hard copy. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I found out a couple of weeks ago. And in comparison, why it might be like Dave says, another 30, maybe 40 years, 50, and then things will probably start changing. For now, for the next 30 or 40 years, I think it's just going to grow where the internet will have always some type of reference to old school stuff, because obviously people still be uploading stuff like that. It's going to stay there for quite some time. I was on AOL, and now I have about 6 emails on AOL. And a lot of people are like, you still use AOL? Well, the funny thing about
I didn't know that was still around.
oh no, AOL is very popular. The thing that blew my mind is when I looked at the thing with Verizon, because Verizon bought AOL a few years ago. And right now, shocking as it is, 42% of the people that use AOL still use dial-up with the old beeping. And I
Really?
said, how can that be? Because all of South America, most of it, most of Brazil, most of Mexico and stuff still use the old fashioned dial up. So that's
Oh wow.
43, I think it was 33 or 43% of the AOL audience. So it's still, and this is a couple of million people. So yeah, we're still kind of like going to the new trends, but like David said, ebooks became popular. Ebooks were like, wow, they're going to replace written books and all this stuff. All of a sudden, Barnes and Noble is making a kin. Now, Barnes and Noble was bought out. My son was working there not too long, and they were bought out by some new company, and so they're doing. And now Amazon is putting in every mall. They have a 2 or 3 story store, and it's all books. So I think that the print media is still going to stay on for a long time because it's beating the email. So the point I'm trying to say is, I know it sounds like a gloom and doom, but I think it's going to be around for a while because most people, including myself, prefer the actual book. And one good example is, you take, for example, people like, what was it, Michelle Obama stuff or somebody like that wrote some stupid book out there and they sold millions of copies like a year ago, so it's, you still have people going out there purchasing books in large quantities. My son told me that each time a book seller would come in, or a writer, they would sell, hundreds and hundreds of books in one day. So, yeah, ebooks are there, but here's the problem with ebooks. When you try to read ebooks online, even if you use the iPad, and now I have the latest iPad. I got the second generation or third generation Pro, the one that just came out a few months ago. And when you're reading on it, even the Kindle, which is the paper white, as you read, your eyes get tired quicker than with the actual paper because you're not seeing, but there's flickering. So I think that's why it turns people off from actually, I mean, out of 10, 20 people that I know, very few actually read online. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I'm kind of interested to see. I believe it's happening sometime next year. As DC Comics they're going a lot of their smaller titles are going digital, and they're keeping a lot of their main titles, Batman, Superman, Flash, and all that, as physical copies. So I'm kind of interested to see how they do with their digital copies
Well,
compared to their physical copies.
do remember there is a difference in digital comic books. A comic book is you're reading half a sentence or a sentence or two. You're not reading like word for word like in a book. So it might be possible for comic books digitally to be more, but I got to tell you the truth
But
though.
then you're losing the collectability though then of the
That's
comic.
exactly. But what I was going to tell you is that DC's doing that, or Marvel, which are the two, because of the fact the way the markets are changing. In the comic book industry. At the same time, it's kind of weird because there's a bunch of comic book stores still popping all over the place, and they're still generating hundreds. I mean, when you go to conventions, you still got thousands and thousands of people attending them, the Comic Cons. Um, I understand what you're saying, and I understand what DC is trying to do, but it could be a step in the wrong direction for them, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to work out for them, and I do see, that there is a need for some digital copies, for maybe people that can't make it to the comic shops, because of a physical disability, or they don't have a shop near them, or for whatever reason. So it gives them the opportunity to
Well,
um,
well,
read the books online, but I don't think it's something that should be substituted one for the other.
no, it shouldn't. Well, ask Dave. He sells 1 million copies of every book he publishes. He's more professional on the call.
Well, I'm not that big a scale yet, but I was just thinking while you guys were discussing this, when I would say, there was this big push um, to go digital with magazine subscriptions, with newspapers, and let's face it, like, you know, magazines, if you go to a supermarket, I mean, remember how they always had the end cap with all the different magazines, whether it was like Newsweek or Time or anything political or Cat Fancy, and they had the wrestling magazines. Look at a magazine rack now. It's like non-existent. If you can even find one, it's very either specialized at a specialty store that will sell them. They're super expensive. You just don't see it. So the whole industry of print was rapidly changing. And of course, no one was subscribing to newspapers because they're getting everything online. They can get their news at their fingertips by just typing anything and looking anything up. So that was kind of, I think, the fear when you had the digital streaming, TV services like Roku and so forth, is people were like, well, we could switch and not pay high cable bills and so forth, but can we still get the local stuff? I mean, you were saying, Joe, about like
Right.
the Addams Family. In fact, like on Roku, I see that they do have the Addams Family, and I've been watching that. They have, it's an old dedicated channel just for it. But
Oh, really? On
yeah,
Roku?
Yeah, but what's the deal here, guys? You guys all watching the Addams Family? What about the
well,
monster?
I have a reason. I have a reason to promote the Addams Family, but
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. I forgot that you own the rights to the Uncle Fester light
Uncle
bulb.
Fester light bulb. But
I'll have to check that out on my Roku.
yeah,
I'm gonna tell.
I could pick it up because I was looking I was on my iPad last night going through my different streaming services, and I couldn't find it on there, on any of them. So I'll have to check the Roku. But it's still I hate to have to rely
oh, I
on
know, because it could
trying
it could
to find.
disappear. It could. I mean, it's
Right.
like I was thinking about that the other day because I'm like a big fan of the Unsolved Mysteries, with Robert Stack. I could watch those episodes over and over, and they do the updates, and that's like, that's late '80s, '90s, early.
Oh, great.
Me too. I've been watching those for the last couple of
Yeah,
days.
and you see that the people that are on there, the cases, they're looking for people that were like born in the 1890s. Well, they're dead anyways, But
Yeah.
you know,
that's
you know what?
I'm afraid they're going to cancel it because they're going to say, this is, like 10 years from now. I don't know why I'm worrying about it now, but they're going to say, hey, these shows are so old. They're talking about cases from the 1970s and 60s. And, so eventually they're going to can it. But
Well, see what you guys don't know, and I'm gonna give both you guys, especially you, David, because I see you have the same. Well, me and you are very similar in all our likes, but there is a streaming service that's $14 a year. That's how much it costs me. It's called Curiosity Stream, and it's all it does is has all those episodes. Like for example, the In Search Of and all that. You get that. The other one is the History Channel Vault. It's $5 a month, and you get everything from what's his name, Mitzer or whatever that he did, America Unearthed or something like that. Which that was a fantastic, man. I thought that was one of the best shows ever with Brad Mitzler. Am I
I
pronouncing
know
his
you're
name right,
speaking.
David?
I know the show. Yeah.
Yeah, that show, I don't know what happened with him and why they stopped, because I thought those were the best so far I've ever seen in the series of In Search Of. Now, with the unknown mysteries and all that stuff, if you go to the History Vault, they have the entire collection there. And classic Curiosity Stream not only has, like science shows and all that stuff and history shows, but they have millions of shows that are individually done by people. Like it's kind of like a YouTube on steroids, really, that you can look up any subject. And then again, let's be honest, any movie that you're trying to look up, which I'm kind of surprised, Joe, you didn't find the movie you were looking for. But if you go to YouTube, you should be able to see it in
Now, see,
full.
I did find it on YouTube, but it was a very it
About,
wasn't a good copy of it,
oh,
and
okay.
there were several I guess like editions of it. Some were shorter and some were longer, so it wasn't the one that I was looking for. And you brought up that the one streaming service $15 a year, and what I ran into, or what I've been running into, is that my wife and I initially got rid of cable to get the streaming services because they were cheaper and we could still get our local channels and everything. But now I'm running into the problem is, Hulu and Netflix both went up in price, and I like shows that are on Netflix. Then I like another show that's on Hulu, another one on Amazon, another one on Shudder.
Well,
So I have, I'm going to all these places where I have to pay for, and it's becoming more expensive than
if you
my initial cable bill.
well, let me tell you guys one thing. For example, if you have a school address, or you have a friend that has a kid in school, whatever, if you use the school address in Amazon Prime, they give you 6 months free, and then it's $6.95 a month. So my daughter, obviously, I use that, and that's how much I pay for my Amazon Prime. So now Amazon Prime gives you many, but the best one that you can use is called Philo, Philo. They're $19.95 a month. All you need to do is put your telephone number in and try it for 7 days for free. And they give you 60 channels, which includes Discovery, Science Channel, History Channel, A&E. It's all the live streaming service you want for $20 a month. So if you get a deal, say, for example, I got the internet, but of course I have the 1 gig deal. 1 gig up and down with Verizon, I pay $79, but that's it. Before I used to pay $160 something with Verizon and all the other channels. The only problem that I have is that the channel 4, NBC, is the only channel, for some bizarre reason, that the only people that offers you live NBC is Sling and Blue Sling, something like that, and I think Roku. But the problem is they're like $40, $50 a month for those services. Yeah. Now, there is a channel that's free. If you have a smart TV and you start looking at all the apps, there's a channel called Pluto TV that all they do is offer black and white films from the 40s and 50s. And they have
Pluto is if you have those streaming services and you have Roku, you go to Pluto. It's free, like Eddie said. But that's what has the Addams Family on it. It has shows like I've mentioned Unsolved Mysteries. It has that show with William Shatner called Emergency 911. It has all the old television shows, but it also, yes, it has the black and white too, but it has more modern things like, Crank Yankers from Comedy Central.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show.
It has all that, and it's absolutely free. And
I'll have to check that. I just wrote it down, so I'm gonna have to.
No, but you can get that. You can get that also. Just to let you know, you don't need to pay a service. Pluto TV, it's an app. You can get it even on your phone. The thing with Pluto is also, my wife, I came here the other night and she was watching Lost in Space, man. I forget at what time. And the Brady Bunch, I think they do have all that stuff.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they have literally, and they have movies too. I was watching through Pluto another like crazy 80s film called Mommy Dearest about Joan Crawford, the woman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was
so I hadn't seen that in years, and if I wanted to find that now, or order a DVD or something, it would be impossible. Or you find a movie with Dennis Weaver, the first Steven Spielberg film called Duel, about the truck driver that's trying to run the guy off the road. I mean, obscure films that you don't see. Before I went on to the on with you guys, I was watching a movie called The Italian Job with remember that?
Remember
so
that.
It's like, that's all on Pluto, and that's where the Addams Family is, and a lot of the other, and it's great because it is free, but a lot of the movies, they don't keep them on there forever. It will say, you have another month to watch these, and then they replace them with other films. So,
but that is one of the upsides to the streaming services, to play devil's advocate here, is that some of these movies and TV shows that you could find on these streaming services, they haven't put them out on DVD, or they were only released to a certain region. So some of the streaming services do allow us to see stuff that we, can't find on DVD or anything like that. Well, and I was just watching a few weeks ago was Dark Shadows. I had started from number 1, and I was up to like a number 100 and something. They were all free on Amazon because I can't afford the box set goes for like $500. But I was so mad because there was it was the end of the storyline of that was going on. The next episode was going to reveal who the killer was, and then Amazon wanted me to pay $1.99 for the show, and then it went after that. It was like the next 20 were free, and then you had to pay for one. Then it was 5 were free, then you had to pay for one. I said, I'm not spending. By the time I spend, $1.99 here, and then for each episode, I might as well just save up and buy the DVD set. At least I'll have it to reference back, and for any future viewings. But I was, oh man, I was livid, man, because I watched 100 and I think it was 26 episodes, and number 120, I think it was 127 was going to reveal, who the killer was and this and that. And then I had to pay for it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Let me tell you guys something, okay? I know it's kind of funny because you guys are a lot younger than me, and I'm going to tell you something, though. In the 1970s, when I was a kid and I wanted to watch any of that stuff, bro, I had to wait for Sunday when they would play each week an Abbott and Costello film, and if I couldn't watch it at that time, I was screwed. It's not like I could or if not, I had to settle for a Super 8 film that was silent, no sound, which would only play for 10 minutes. And it had so I got to be honest with you, man. What we have today, we're kind of complaining, but what we have today was never available. There's a guy that goes to Chiller Theater. Now, Chiller Theater is, like I said, that convention up in my area that's been going on. I think, in fact, they're opening it again soon. I think they'd only skipped one, I think, because of the coronavirus. But the thing with that show is there's one guy there that's a friend of mine. And what he does is he has one of those DVRs he bought for like $190 that has 1,000 hours of video time on it. And he records all those crazy old movies and stuff like that. And then he burns them onto DVDs and he sells them for $10, $14 each at Chiller. And he's been doing that for like 10 years since he's going there or more.
I wonder if it's the same guy that does that at Monster Bash, because he has all the old
this
DVDs
guy,
and all that.
He's an old not old. He's like a middle-aged Italian guy, kind of bullheaded. He goes by the name of Paul.
I
don't
this
say
is
too much
guy.
Information in case. But I think he does go to that one too. To be honest with you.
But yeah, like you said, we definitely have a good. Today I'm just of the mindset that I want to.
You're spoiled. You're spoiled.
Yeah, spoiled. But I want to have the physical copy, for future, and I want to have, something to pass on, to my nieces and all that too, to say, hey, look, these are movies or shows from the 50s and 60s that 40 years from now or something that might not be available, but here it is, a physical copy that you could play, and it's not just about having them ready at hand, but it's about almost like you're preserving that part of history, and you're having a part of it with you to to pass on, or to have it ready at hand when you need it. So yeah, we're definitely spoiled nowadays compared to how it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But there's still
well, no, Joe, in the 80s you had VHS. That's different. When VHS came in, it offered an opportunity for people to record films. But what I was going to tell you though is, and this is kind of like what I do is this: I bought a Blu-ray portable 10-inch player. It cost me like $260 because it was Blu-ray. Obviously, they're still going for that price. They haven't gone down. And I have 3 10-inch DVD portable players that have the screen. So I have them there, meaning I still watch them on my computer. But if I ever, they stop making DVDs, because here's the whole thing I have in my collection. I made sure I bought I Dream of Jeannie. I made sure that I bought the Bewitched series, the entire I Love Lucy collection, the entire Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, The Honeymooners. I have every film of Abbott and Costello. I've bought probably Lost in Space, the entire series, Sanford and Son, Branded, The Guns of Will Sonnet, which is one of the best Westerns I've ever watched in my life. I don't know if Dave has ever even heard of The Guns of Will Sonnet, but I think that's the most, it's phenomenal. Dave, have you heard of that?
No, I'm not familiar with that, to be honest with you.
Oh my God, Dave, you got it. Dave, I know you would love that. If you watch it's only 2 seasons. It's about 24 episodes, so 29 episodes in total.
And you know what, Eddie, what I was just thinking too, and I was thinking this a few days ago, is that a lot of the well, not a lot, but there's certain shows that came out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that had some controversial parts to the story that are actually being cut out of the episodes that are put on streaming. So you're not even getting the original TV show or movie unless you find it on DVD. So that's another,
Yeah, but
I think, push to make sure that you get the DVDs. But real quick, Dave, I wanted to ask you, just in your personal and your professional opinion, going back to magazines, do you think, or do you see a maybe a revival of physical print magazines coming in the near future?
I kind of only see it if it's going to be like a special edition, collector's edition. I really don't. I don't. There may be magazines that will like pop up, or some people get together and say, "Hey, let's write about this." If they do, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be weekly, or I think it's going to be like 4 times a year type thing. It's going to be very sparse because the audience is going to be small. People are going to demand, if something does come out, if they can get a digital copy, and maybe that's all right if it's digital and then they also offer a print copy. But I don't know of any new magazines personally that have surfaced over the last couple of years, like a new magazine. I just have heard of ones like that are getting smaller and smaller and thinner, or they're just,
Right.
Totally giving up the print copies and going totally online.
Now I did see that Fangoria, I think it was Fangoria, they were out of print for a little bit when I think they went digital, and now they're coming back with, I believe, a quarter. I think it's a quarterly
yeah,
issue, something like that.
um,
And I know Famous Monsters, they tried that with a yearly edition, but I'm not sure if they
yeah.
do that
You know what I look
anymore.
at?
let me
It's kind of like, I think magazines will be very much like vinyl, where there could be like a little resurgence, and maybe something like that's nostalgic. Someone want, because I was, and I didn't even realize this, but a week ago I was at Walmart, and I never realized they have a vinyl section now.
Oh, mostly
Yeah,
oh,
a lot of stores now. Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles. I mean, vinyls. It's almost like making a comeback. Like you see more vinyls than you see
CDs.
CDs on
You
anymore.
know, I'm going to tell both you guys one thing about that. I go to Barnes and Noble, like, honestly, on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, whenever I could stop there. And I used to love when my son used to work there because I got 40% off. There is so many magazines. There's over 1,500 magazines on display with new ones added each month. So and there is a lot of there's a lot of European magazines coming into the market in USA. They're a little bigger, they're brighter, they're kind of from England. They're a lot better than the American versions. But
Right. Yeah. I was just gonna say that if you could find something like Dark Side or Infinity that comes from England, I believe it's the USA price tag is around $10. But man, you get some glossy pages, and you get some
but
quality work in those
But Joe, one
magazines.
thing you forgot to mention is that, like, Popular Science and Popular Mechanics, I just subscribed yesterday to a 2-year Popular Science magazine because they have this awesome covers that are coming out that are fantastic. Now, Popular Science and Popular Mechanics, the magazine went from like 11 by 12 to like 8 by 10. They kind of shortened it down a little bit. It's more word. The words are like small, but it's more bigger, I think. But they all give you the free digital copy with the yearly subscription. So you're getting
Yeah, a lot of those are doing it. I know, like, even with if you go over to Tomorrow's Publishing and you take a look at, if you subscribe or you order online to their back issue or alter ego, you get a
you
free
do
digital copy with it, which is great. I think that's awesome to give the subscribers or someone that's
you do,
buying.
but there's a problem with it that you're not aware of. See, I have the digital subscription and I have the actual subscription for both Popular Mechanics and Science, which I usually been subscribing for years. I used to subscribe to Boys Life magazine from the Boy Scouts when it had all the ads. Now it doesn't. So I kind of stopped getting that like 6, 7 years ago. But the point I'm going to say to you is this: when you try to read on your phone or you try to read whatever, a digital copy, it's a piece of junk. I usually
Yeah,
don't look through
it's
it
tough.
because you get an article, then you have to go to the next thing and then scroll up and down certain things. It's not fun. Sometimes you can't even find what you're looking for.
No, like me personally, and I don't know how you guys are. Is I could sit and in one sitting and read a magazine, or sit for 2-3 hours and read a book. But man, if I try reading something on the computer or iPad, I got to take a break every 10-15 minutes or so because my eyes start hurting, and I get kind of sick of having to enlarge it to look, and all this other stuff. I just rather have the physical
So
Yeah.
copy.
my opinion is it's still going to stay for a while. At least for the next 30 years or so, we'll still have a strong media print part of it. Because just like you were saying, and Dave was unaware, Dave, they're selling albums, like which I was shocked in those stores that sell magazines, like the Indian shops and stuff in New York City and stuff like that. There's one of those news things in my area, and I went there, and this guy has a bunch, but I couldn't believe they were selling vinyl in there too. And I'm like, are you kidding? So vinyl has made a big, but the problem is the price tags on these things. The Michael Jackson Thriller album was
Oh yeah,
$39.
and you know what's funny is that you could go to any of your local flea markets and find the original album, usually
A
for
dollar.
$3 to $5, maybe $1. Because I know me and my old man, we go once a month to a flea market near us, and his buddy has this huge record stand, and he's always packed. I mean, there's always people there buying, and I see new albums that are at Barnes and Nobles for $20-$30, and I find them at the flea market for $2 or $3, and they're maybe they're not digitally remastered whatnot, but you're still getting
Oh yeah.
quality music for it at
Yeah.
a
Well,
fraction of
that's
the
the thing. I
price.
go back to like, we were saying about magazines and print, and I see the very like famous monsters, or it has a following, and people that collect that type of thing, they actually want a tangible item like the magazine, they'll go for it. But the same with the vinyls. You notice most of the albums that I noticed like at Walmart, just because I was in that section looking for printer ink, is there are things like Eddie said. It's Michael Jackson Thriller album. It's like Queen album or Led Zeppelin. It's the classic stuff. You don't really see new artists just cranking out these vinyl records. It's the classic stuff, which, as you said, Joe, you could find
Right.
on eBay. You could find at your local flea market, yard sale. So when I was looking at it, yeah, the prices, I'm like, and it's most of the time it's the same artwork too. It's the same cover
Oh
art.
yeah,
Well,
So they're
absolutely.
appealing to that. But with the magazines, to go back, as long as those magazines they're not relying on subscription rates, because very few people order magazines through the mail. And I think we talked about this probably over a month ago when we were talking about how Publishers Clearinghouse started with doing magazine subscriptions, and now they've gotten away totally from that practically, and it's into buying gadgets and kitchen devices and things that make your life better. But look at the powerful magazines that are ceasing to do hard copy prints. It was like 17 magazine. I think even Playboy, right? They're stopping. Everything is digital. They're stopping printing the magazine, which is like an iconic magazine, and they've ceased the production of doing hard copy printing.
yeah,
Right, and I know one of the big issues that are causing these magazines to go under, and I'm sure you guys see it too because you deal with shipping and all that, is the cost of shipping and the cost of printing the magazines. Because I talk a lot with the editors for Scary Monsters, and their main issue is the cost of printing and especially the cost of shipping that keeps going up. So I think a lot of these smaller publications, the reason why they're folding, and it's not just one issue. Oh, telephone. Someone's got to grab it. It's not just one issue. There's a whole bunch of issues, but I think a main issue is,
You're
shipping going up.
That's correct. Yeah,
So it's
even
killing a lot of
they
people.
get bulk mailing rates, discounted rates, but still, sometimes the shipping is more than the magazine would even sell for on the newsstand.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you guys got to remember: the government still has the media mail, which is always going to be $2.80 for up to like £5. So magazines will fall in that. But or bulk mail, But here's what I was going to say to you guys: when you both mentioning the magazines, and what's happening is, I don't think that the printing costs, the magazines, like say for example, Dave, you mentioned Playboy. Well, the reason Playboy went out of business, or is going out of business, is because you can get online what people want. They just buy that to look at the
No, they buy it,
females,
Eddie. They buy it for the articles, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
the articles,
but
Eddie. Come on.
not really. I never bought one for the articles.
But again, we're going back because of the digital. See how it's changed that was a multi-billion-dollar industry, that magazine.
Of
And
course.
Yeah.
That's like Kodak. What was Kodak?
And a lot of, look how many, and look how many models and look how many writers got their start, with Playboy and with, all these big magazines that, Dave, like you said, have gone under, so it's harder for, these people have to turn to online. And once again, we're going back to, online. And then if a website goes under, then you have to, try to find that website. If you go to the, I think it's archive.org, sometimes they'll have, past websites that are now defunct, but
it's called Time Machine, not that.
Yeah. If you have writings on a website and it goes under, there's a possibility you could lose all that, writing.
It's called what you're talking about is called timemachine.com. And every website that's ever existed, they're archived there. Like if you go to House of the Unusual and you go back like 5 years ago, you'll have copies of every single day of my website. That's I think it's like believe it or not, that's a government owned or something of the internet, where there is a history of anything ever seen on the internet.
Yeah, I know it's part of archive.org. You could either go, when you go to the homepage, you could go to archive or the Time Machine one. And even archive.org is nice because you could find a lot of, old. I actually, when I was doing the research for this movie, I was able to go back and find an old Famous Monsters from, I believe it was 1962. And I was able to find it on there and, search through it. And I was able to find the article that I was looking for and, reference it and everything. So that was really cool, because otherwise I'd have to, find it on eBay and try to get it shipped to me in time.
Yeah, another thing, if you go to Google Docs, not Google Docs, like where I think it's called Google's, I forgot what it's called now, but in Google, there's a copy of almost every book ever published. You can see, in fact, Google got in trouble for that because they were like giving you full copies of books, and then they had to kind of summarize it a little, for not to give you the entire. But say, for example, you want to go to Boys Life or Popular Science or Life magazine, you go to the site and the archives will give you every single issue that you can actually page through and take copies of on those archives. Because I did that with Boys Life. I got everything from 1964 through 1985, I think it was. I got a copy of every single issue and digitally.
Well, I remember getting that magazine back in the, it had to been mid 80s or so, when I was in
the Boy Scouts.
The Boy Scout.
Now,
yeah, that's going back way far with that
Dave,
one.
I want to ask you this question really quick, because you'll be the expert on this. I know some of your books, when they first came out, you sold them for like $20, and I know some of your books now selling for $700 because of the lack. Right now, Mail Order Mysteries by Kirk Damaris is selling on Amazon for $90, and some people going as high as $123 on eBay. What do you think causes that?
Well, it's like anything in the field of collecting or especially books or whatever you do. I'm not sure if they really are going for that. I mean, it's like that book I did called Pleasant Nightmares. That's actually one that we did under the imprint of S.S. Adams. That book sold out like within 2 months. And originally it was, I think it was $40. And now you see it on Amazon or it surfaces on eBay and it's like $200. But I'm not sure who's buying it. I'm not sure if it's actually selling. So when you're saying, the book is now selling for 90, is that just what it's listed for? Because it's even
No.
it's actually people are paying the.
They're paying because it's out of print. So if you want to get a copy, you're paying the $90.
Oh yeah, I've seen people paying, books that have been out of print for 5 years, and they're paying $200 for it because it's a book that they kind of supply and demand. It's a book that they wanted, and this person's demanding the price, and people are paying it. If they, like you said, Dave, it's a collectible. People want it, and if they want it bad enough, they'll pay whatever you're going to put out the price for it.
Nightmares. I was going to say Pleasant Nightmares, the one Dave put out. It's a phenomenal. That's an awesome book. It's one of the best books I ever owned. I can tell you something, Dave. I don't know if you're aware, but there was one that sold for $437 on Amazon. Somebody paid for it because it was there and it's gone.
Well, that book, like I said, I get requests for it, and so much so that I was thinking of doing another edition to get in the hands of more people that want it. But the original one was hardcover. I was thinking of doing a second edition, and soft cover, and that's been discussed over the last several months. I know, like a book I did early on one of my first books, again, it was like a $40 book, but it was limited. There was only 500 printed. And that book, I see it going for, like $350. And a lot of times I don't believe it because I'm not the one that's selling it. I don't have any more to sell, but I say to myself, no, that book can't be going for that much. It's impossible. I mean, who the hell will pay that much money for it? But as Joe said, if you want it, it's unobtainable, and you want to add it to your library. It's not one of these mass-produced books. I mean, most of the books I do, I've done multiple printings of them, but at each time it may just be like 500 or 1,000 copies, and unless there's a lot of demand, I will not reprint it. I did one called The Death Camp Magicians in hardcover, sold out in a month, then did a soft that sold out in 6 months, and now I have to decide if I want to do a third edition of that. But yeah, and then in my field, we do things like deluxe editions, and it's basically the same book, but the binding is different. You may have leather binding or slipcase, or you tip in something with an autograph. And with those books, you could kind of see those over the years going for more because they have that added bonus. And usually there's less produced. Instead of doing 500 of that, I may only do 200. And those I could see going up in price. But I'm just amazed that, some of the things I turned out are now going for, like you just said, Pleasant Nightmares, $400. I have 3 copies of that. I have, an autograph copy to me from the author and from Bill Neff's son.
You sure that's not in my possession?
Then I have 2 other copies that are like just emergency, like run out of money and I gotta sell them fast. But yeah, it's amazing that things that are fairly new jump up in price like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the one I have, Dave, has Neff's and everybody's autograph in it.
Yeah.
But let's just hope it's not the one you're thinking. What I was gonna say,
Eddie might have pulled a stealth machine and swiped
my man
it.
gave me as a gift, and he's like, I don't know if I gave, and it's there, man. I have it. Dave, let me tell you something that really impresses me because you actually print some of the best quality books I've ever seen. I mean, they're phenomenal and stuff. But I'm going to tell you something. If you want to do a research on some of the books you print, the one you did in Houdini, the little red one that's a copy of the Unmasking of Robert Houdin, that has, that you made a copy really nice in red that I think you were selling for like $30 or 40. If you go, you should do I did it about 2 months ago, so I still think you should be able to. But if you do an eBay search for that book and then you put completed listings, that book was doing over $60. some people are paying as much as $80 for that book. And I'm going to give you an example. I have a book that I had. I just had it. It's called this thing that Sean Penn did the movie, Fast Times at Richmond High, the original paperback book that was done in 1988 or 87. The publisher, I think he only published like 1 or 2 books. I don't think he did too many books, but the original book on the movie, I have the book, and I have it. So anyway, I put it on eBay, and the book is going from $1,000. There's people asking, I don't know how much they're paying for it, but I don't see that they pay much, like over $250, whatever. So anyway, I had to buy it now, and the person offered me $200. I was asking $275, and I sold it through a different eBay store, and then eBay put a 21-day hold on my money. It got me so pissed. I canceled the order. There's no way that they're going to hold the money because it's just an account that I have, whatever, that has very little feedback. So I have it now, but I listed it because I saw the demand for it. I listed it for $350 or something with a best offer, whatever. But it's amazing that somebody will pay for a stupid 6x9 paperback that's not in great condition. I mean, it's in decent condition, but people are paying for a book that I personally, the movie when I was a kid, I hated it. Then I don't like Sean Penn as an actor. So, I don't like the movie. I don't care for the book. I just have it there, and I have it listed right now on eBay. And for some reason, like I said, it actually sold. The person paid, and I refunded them the money, which they probably got pissed. But you know what? I'm not going to have my money being held for 21 days just because eBay feels like it, that's one of the beefs I have with eBay, So that's what I'm saying. Your books, especially, I'm willing to take just for the heck of it. I wonder if I were to list that Nightmares book you have, just for the heck of it, to see what people are willing to pay for that book. Not to sell, because I wouldn't sell it if they gave me $500.
Put it as an auction and see how high it goes.
I did that with the Ghost one time, and it went past $3,200. So,
yeah, that's crazy that how much people will pay for books sometimes. But I mean, it's good. It's good to see that there's still that demand for the actual print copy.
Let me ask you
books.
a question, Dave. Didn't I pay $893 for the 7-foot Ghost from Johnson Smith? A balloon and a plastic. People just want things really bad.
Eddie, I could have sold you a balloon and a plastic bag for that
David
much.
already sold me one.
I got another one that you could buy. I'll send it right over to you. Just wire me the money real quick. Well, guys, we're down to about 7 minutes or so. So let's wrap it up. I know we didn't get to any of the magic stuff. We kind of ran with the topic I was hoping to just talk about for a few minutes, but that's okay. We'll have Dave on again to talk some magic stuff. But Dave, what are your final thoughts, and what's some places that people could find your books and all that in your publications? Dave, we there?
Something.
We must have lost Dave. Yeah. All right. Well, Eddie, give us your final thoughts and what of what's new at House of the Unusual. Any new listings?
Well, basically, the funny thing I was going to say with House of the Unusual is when we're saying about all these things with the books and stuff, it makes me realize that people will pay what they want, no matter what it is. And for whatever reason, it's going to always be there. The market will always be there. Someone will always want, as long as all our people that we, our age and stuff are alive, somebody's going to want something from their childhood. So having said that, that's why it's important that our listeners help us in maintaining our channel and continue to grow with the House of the Unusual website, because it is one of the last places where you can come and get those strange items you grew up wanting and never had. So I want to tell all our listeners to please, join our thing, go on so we can include new contents, get in touch with us, send us messages, come in, join the forum, join the blog, but definitely listen to the podcast, because the podcast is now in its 18th. This is going to be the 19th show now, and it's growing. and it has a lot of. I think it has like 10 5 stars already in iTunes. I need
Yeah, last I checked, I think there was 10 reviews, all five
so
stars.
yeah,
So
people should
keep
listen.
keep those reviews coming,
Well,
man. We're definitely appreciative of all the 5-star reviews out there, and any type of feedback. And like Eddie said, head over to houseoftheunusual.com on the forum. You could give us feedback there of what you want to see in any future episodes, and if you want to be a guest, get a hold of us there, man. We're always looking to talk to new people and to get some different, perspectives on a, we talk about a wide variety of topics, and that's what we're here for, some pop culture topics and
yeah, and
everything. So,
and in the future we'll have famous world magician Dave Haversat, who kind of fell into a black hole tonight.
yeah, he pulled his own disappearing magic trick, but for Dave on his side, you could find his books on his website. It's 1878 Press. It's 1878 Press, PRESS.com. And there you could find a lot of his books that he has available. Go to the shop site and the publications, and you could purchase them on there a lot cheaper than you'll probably find them on Amazon or eBay. But definitely, everyone out there, go check out House of the Unusual on eBay. There's a lot of cool items on there. There's a lot of cool items on houseoftheunusual.com. And definitely head over to the YouTube channel, House of the Unusual, and check out all of the unboxing videos. We're going to be having 2 more pop up. I did an unboxing I just sent Eddie, which should be coming up shortly. And our buddy King of the Sea Monkeys, Todd, he did his first unboxing. So I can't wait to see that, because we're going to have him on after that to discuss it and see how it went.
There's a part in the thing. His thing came out pretty good, actually. What I was going to say to you, you'll see it tonight. I'm going to upload them soon. Yeah, definitely. And then people, by the way, the 7-foot Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein that has been printed in posters, will not be available. There's only a few left. We need for anybody to go to you can actually buy it even on my eBay store. I put it on my eBay store, but on the site, get the link, buy the 7-foot Frankenstein and the Haunted House Weather House. That's going to be gone, and once it's gone, it will not be reproduced. So having said,
right, so you guys don't want to miss out on that. Definitely, those are very cool items.
That, well, Joe, I guess it's another wrap up of another fantastic show that turned out to be.
Yep, awesome discussion. I know we kind of ranted a little bit longer and missed out on the magic, but that just means we'll have to have Dave on in the near future to talk about
one thing that I'm going to tell you for sure, though. Let's do like like Jackie Gleason used to do before every show. He never rehearsed, because when you think of a topic, it's not going to happen.
That absolutely. So everyone out there in podcast land, once again, thank you for joining us. Please head over to Anchor or iTunes, however you listen to us, and give us a good review. Definitely helps us out and keeps us going. So Eddie, thanks for joining us. Everybody out there, thank you.